And welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Go, also known as ClassicGho, and I'm joined by two returning guests. TableSlam, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Fantastic. It's been an interesting week, but it's the weekend, so it's time to party. And we're also joined by ScotteJaye for the 15th, 16th, 20th, 25th time. Scotty, welcome back.
Hi, ClassicGho. How are you?
Fantastic, man. Sorry about your luck on your GDKP there, but there's always next week.
Rather not talk about it. But
hey, at least you got the belt. I still don't have that on my main.
Yeah, belt, 2 regalias. Can't really complain.
And let me get rid of some housekeeping here. We've got shout out to the Patreons, Thick Lizzie, Croxford, Braxton, and Turtle Whale. Thank you guys for supporting Warcraft Reloaded on Patreon. I'd like to mention that Bob streams live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Blazzinbob. That's BLAZZINBOB. And also now on Kick with the same handle, just kick.com instead of twitch.tv. Warcraft Reloaded has a Discord server, and I didn't update it. I think it's discord.me/Warcraft Reloaded. You can find all this information on warcraftreloaded.com. If you'd like to support Warcraft Reloaded and you play World of Warcraft Classic and you like Rested XP, then use their discount code Reloaded at checkout. If you'd like to call in and leave a voicemail, which we don't have any voicemails this week, but they'll get back to playing the voicemails next week. The call-in number is 816-866-1066, or you can go to speakpipe.com/Warcraft Reloaded. They haven't been getting many Apple reviews lately, so if you're listening on Apple, give them a shout out in the reviews there. With all of that out of the way, something else is probably missing, but I did my best. Bob, I hope that was fine. Add some extra stuff in post. They've also got a new sponsor, Rogue Energy. I haven't tried it. It looks like a powder you add to like water. I'm assuming that's what it is. Bob spoke highly. He spoke highly of it, so I'm planning on using his code Reloaded for 20% off of that and try that out. All right.
I wonder what flavors it's got. When I hear Rogue Energy, I think of ganking people in STV.
I can go and get all of the sachets out of the bar and show you them if you want.
You've got some? Nice.
Yeah.
I use
they don't taste very good with gin though, so I don't really drink them very often. I'll be honest with you. Rogue Energy and gin don't go, but not too bad with brandy. Not that I've tried it or anything. I just heard it from a friend.
Oh yeah,
you're a scientist. It's fine.
I think normal people add it to water, but of course Scotty's got to add it to some sort of liquor.
Yeah, got to be different, mate. Anyway, are you gonna introduce me and Table? Like, I don't like it. It's cool, but I don't really know the guy, and we're just chucked in a room together. It's a little bit weird. Like, nice to meet you, Table. By the way, hello.
I think I've seen you in Moonglade before, once or twice.
Yeah.
Not recently though.
I used to spend a lot more time in Moonglade than well, actually, I'm sort of back. The Moonglade cards are starting to remember who I am again now. Yeah.
If you don't know Table, he was your tank in that GDKP. So.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we won't talk about it then. We'll forget about it.
I'm gonna keep bringing it up.
I'll be honest. I didn't realize we had a tank.
Yeah, because you didn't have to worry about threat. You're like, oh man, the boss is tanking itself.
No, I realized we had a tank every time I had to combat Res 1.
Ooh.
Every pull.
That's all right. My taunt button gets pressed a lot. Lots of accidental, quote unquote, accidental taunts on the boss on a noob.
Yeah, it wasn't you. I didn't have to combat Res you.
Well,
I think.
To give a little background on Table, all he has to do is talk about what he's been doing this week in WoW, and I'm sure you'll know more about him after that.
Oh, yeah. If you know who I am, you'll already know what I've been doing. been playing a lot of hardcore. I've got a druid at 47 right now. It's been fun. Went horde on Skull Rock, specifically because a lot of people are playing Alliance on Defies Pillager. So I was like, nah, I think I want a slightly more chill experience. So I decided to go the less popular faction in hardcore on the less popular server to have as chill of an experience as possible. And it has been so far. It's been a lot of fun. It's the first time I've been going through all the vanilla zones as Horde. I've only played them as Alliance. So it's been an actually fresh experience, like fresh server, fresh leveling experience, but as fresh as it can get. The only thing that's the same is that I'm playing a druid. So that's the one little, nugget of similarity between all of the previous runs that I've done. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a really cool experience. And it's been nice to like interact with the economy in hardcore, because on Bloodsail, it was all solo self-found. So being able to actually trade with people and group up for group quests. Like there's quests that I've done that I have never done during hardcore before because they require a group. So it's been cool. It's been a lot of fun.
Have you used the auction house at all?
I have been, not really to buy stuff, except for like I've bought like a couple of mats here and there, but like the server's still so fresh that like even when I was doing the tribal leatherworking quest, I had to go farm all my own turtle scales because there weren't any on the auction house. So like I bought like a couple like deep rock salt or like, just random little stuff. I bought like a couple of pages of the Green Hills Stranglethorn, bought a couple of those. But other than that, like I've still been mostly playing the same way that I would have been on Bloodsail, just here and there, saving myself a little time by buying stuff. I've been selling stuff on the auction house though, that's for sure.
What's been selling on the auction house that people are buying up?
Like low-level crafting mats, Green Hills Stranglethorn pages, Shredder manual pages, greens, random greens that are good. Like I've sold a few that have like the actual good rolls on them, like of the tiger, of the bear, of the monkey, like that sort of stuff sells. Of the owl, those all sell really well. The rest of them don't really, so I just kind of vendor them. But just the things that you would expect to sell well are selling well. Consumables, stuff like that, some crafted stuff. Some of the things that I've been making at level leatherworking are actually decent pieces, so I'll sell some of those. But that's kind of about it.
And I know we spoke the other day and you were saying that you were waiting to do your only caves until the solo self-found hardcore servers came out. So what plans do you have when those servers do launch with your only caves?
I'm not sure if it's a separate server. It's, from what I understand, it's going to be a separate mode that you select on character creation. Gotcha. And it basically just restricts trading mailbox and auction house, like when you select that option at creation. So the game removes your ability to interact with the economy and with trading and stuff like that in that way. And all of the caves runs that I've done have been, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm that idiot who decides to grind in caves to level. And on Bloodsail was always a bloodbath run, so no quests. And I did White Knight as well, which is white and gray items only. And I would just grind all of my XP off of mobs that are inside of caves the whole time. And it would be super easy to start a caves run on the new hardcore servers. But part of the challenge for me anyway is to do it self-found and with bad gear. Yeah. So I'm specifically waiting until they add in the self-found mode to start a caves run. And I'm hoping to get my at least one character to 60 before they add it in, so that I don't feel like I have to split my time or anything like that.
Have you ever thought it might be time to go outside and get a hobby?
I did go outside once.
Oh, was it not a good experience?
It was bad. It was real bad. Graphics were kind of mid. I don't know. 3 out of 10 on Metacritic.
I mean, it's a bit buggy here still, so
yeah,
until it gets colder.
Especially in the evening, it gets real buggy. Lots of mosquitoes. But no, as soon as I realized how bad the outside world was, I was like, well, maybe I'll just play video games instead.
I was just trying to help. Yeah, I wasn't even trying to be funny. I was just trying to help you out. I thought maybe you hadn't thought about going outside before. I don't know.
I thought about it, and every time I think about it, it hurts my brain.
Anything going on in Wrath for you outside of the hardcore stuff? I know we raid together a couple nights a week.
The three of us have been spending some quality time in raids. That's for sure. Well, quality time might be a stretch, but the splits have been. I've been happy with the way the splits are going. more or less. So that's been a lot of fun to actually raid with the alts and everything like that. And then the GDKPs, of course. So it's been fun. Like I mean, that was the whole reason why I came to Main Creek, was to raid with you guys. So it's been a lot of fun to be actually doing that. So no complaints here.
Yeah. Scotty, what have you been up to? I know you just got a druid up to 80. What's been going on?
I'm literally sat at the moment. Like I just bought 2 regalias, in that GDKP, and it's so difficult. You know, when you've got no gear. So like when you're already full bis in Ulduar, it's quite simple. It's like, right, I'll get this item and that. You know, I'll use my regalia on this and that. But when you've not got any gear, and it's like, well, you know, I've just traded 1 regalia in for legs, and I've still got 1 to go, and it's like, I've got tier 8 head, like proper tier 8 head, so the 232. The shoulders would be actually the biggest upgrade out of everything, because they've got armor pen on. My current shoulders are just 225. You know, so it's like trying to work out what is the best. Like even the legs, obviously, yeah, I would have preferred to have got Broken Beast, for example, tonight and bought those. Because at the moment, it's just grabbing anything, innit?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When you're freshly dinged, it's like you can't itemize like you would if you was going from tier 8 bis to tier 9. So it's yeah. But yeah, I literally smashed the druid up. I'm like 5.1k gear score now in I dinged yesterday. Literally hit 80 yesterday, 5.1k, done full Ulduar hard mode, took 10-man hard mode. Took 10-man hard mode, just under 25, going Ulduar 25 tomorrow. Yeah, but it feels good, as in I feel like back again now I'm on a druid, because I want 3 druids for Cataclysm, 2 on NA, and I've already got my druid on EU. So
is it too late to refund the legs?
Why would I refund the legs?
Because if you get the Yogg legs, you would want to use those instead.
Yeah, but again, the chances of getting the Yogg legs pretty slim. You know, I'm thinking of what I'm going to actually be doing on this druid. As in, I just want it ready for ICC. The odds of going to many Ulduar 25s is pretty slim. It's my 3rd character. You know, all it's going to be for at the moment is top 25 GDKPs once a week. That's it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the only I know what you're saying. Like, I would prefer the Yogg legs, obviously, but unless they drop tomorrow, the chances of me getting them is literally probably 0, because the splits I'll still be doing on the priest. I will not be doing Ulduar GDKP runs for fun. You know what I mean?
Did you just say the F word, dude?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I'm not going to Ulduar twice a week, so it's yeah.
I'd say go shoulders for your other piece. It's the only piece of tier for tier 9 that has armor pen on it.
Yeah.
I would have recommended Helm in shoulders, because Helm has expertise. There's no expertise on any gear in tier 9. So I would have said...
That's what I was torn between. So I was going to get like head and legs would be the most value, because then I only need 15 emblems and I've got a trophy, so I can then get the tier 9, yeah, just the 245 shoulders to replace the 225s I'm using at the moment. As I say, it's just it's a gear grab at the moment. It like really trying to itemize is not going to happen, you know.
True.
But it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying being back on a druid, and I'm going to enjoy it even more during like halfway through ICC, because I'm literally going to be gearing up 3 druids.
How different does it feel from when was the last time you played a druid? Like it a lot. Like, was it TBC, or did you play any during the first part of Wrath?
Yeah, I mean, my main ult was so obviously I've been Paladin for all of Wrath, but my main ult was a Feral. So I was still raiding every week throughout Nax, Ulduar, all of that as a Feral, until about halfway through Ulduar, when I then went Hunter instead of Feral. But yeah, it's nowhere near as nice as Kata. Like, but honestly, Kata Feral is just so much better than this shit that we're playing at the moment. You know, I'm having to. It feels good being on a Feral again, but I'm sort of having to force myself to. It don't flow. It don't flow as nicely when you Feral charge, not having a free Ravage. That feels shit. Not being able to Ferocious Bite at 25% and refresh Rip. That feels shit. You know, there's just so many little things that I've got used to playing a druid in Kata on private servers that now this just. And I hate Omen of Clarity. The glyph of Omen of Clarity. I absolutely detest the change. I would rather do less damage and it didn't exist. Honestly, I hate it. It's just such an awful way to play Feral.
I feel like I've said like in the past that I feel like there's probably something else they could have done to fix the problem they were trying to fix other than doing that. It kind of seemed like one person had an idea that sounded like it would be okay, and they were just like, yes, please, just put it in, just do whatever.
If it was like 25% chance, you know, it's just the fact that it procs every time. Like that's just awful. If it was at least a bit RNG, because like every private server I've ever played on, Feral Fairy Fire can proc Omen of Clarity. It's a much lower chance, as in, you know, it might be 10%, let's say, but it would still have a chance of procking. But then that makes it feel more rewarding when you do use it and it procs. You know, it's just I'm not a fan. But at the same time, like, yeah, I'm enjoying being back on Feral again. But it's just not the Feral that I'm looking forward to. The Feral I'm looking forward to is Kata, as long as Blizzard don't fuck it up.
So for you, it's Kata waiting room, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And even Ernest is saying in chat, shit change for sure. Like, even diehard Ferals do not like that change. The people who like that change are people that can't play Feral. Genuinely, it is. I truly believe it is. The people that can't play Feral like the change. The people who can play Feral don't like it.
The main thing I like about it is that I do more damage now. Like, they could have whatever, they could have done anything to make us do more damage, and I would be a fan of the change. Like that.
Oh, yeah. But like you say, it could have been even something as simple as just the coefficient on rip. You know, you could have got that. You could have got that damage output without completely changing the way the class feels. You know, you could have, like, yeah, just buffed rip by 15% or something like that. You know, like something where it's a lot more subtle. It doesn't feel as game changing. As I say, the way Feral plays in Wrath is not. What I said to Ernest the other day, because he don't plan on playing Kata. And I said to him, Kata feels more like Wrath Feral than Wrath Classic feels like Wrath Feral. You know, as in, Kata is closer to how Wrath Feral should play than Classic Wrath is to how Wrath Feral plays.
Yeah. You know, they should have done. They should have made it so that if you go to Bear form, you lost Savage Roar. Then nobody would have gone to Bear ever because they would have lost Savage Roar, or they would have like waited to use it until they get back into Cat.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where we already went on a tangent. I'll be interested to see,
that's
like,
all I've been doing anyway.
Once pre-patch comes out, like we gotta convince Go. we gotta get him in there and get him doing his theory crafting, get him to get some dummy time to see how he likes the Kata stuff.
Yeah, Kata beta. That's where I'm gonna make my decision. Am I staying or am I going? So as long as beta's not buggy, because that would be bad.
Just stay out of Silithus, you'll be fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been up to playing my level 60 tune on Maladath on a Wrath server, and we started raiding last week. We got a full ZG clear, Nixia, and a full AQ20 clear. And we had like 10 people in our raid, so it was pretty cool. And
I was watching part of that. I had that up while I was doing other stuff, and I saw you guys in there with 8 at one point.
Yeah. We went from like 8 to 11. It just depended on when and where we were that night. But Anixia was kind of cool. Like, I was like, that's a 40-man raid, and then, yeah, we went in there and crushed it with like 10 people. I think I was the only one that died. I took a breath. I got too used to the level 80 where the breath doesn't really matter. You can just stand in her path and she just goes over top of you, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. But yeah, level 60, yeah, she still takes away your hit points. And we've got Molten Core we're going to try tomorrow. We'll probably only have like 10 to 12 people for that. So if we get any bosses down, I'll be stoked. But I've been farming Black Lotus all week. That's a trip down memory lane that I didn't really want to relive, but there I am sitting in Silithus waiting 15 minutes to have a Black Lotus respawn and run around the whole map and not find it till the last possible spot it could have been in. It's been fun, but it gives me something to do at work. I can like
engaging gameplay. You gotta love it.
Yeah, I can pick it. I can go work on a project, come back to my PC, and be like, oh, yep, okay, found another one, and then AFK again.
Just a super cool project. For anybody who's listening that's not aware, Go decided to start up a project that he's calling Project Vanilla Plus, where he and a bunch of friends have rolled characters on a Wrath server, But once they got to 60, they talked to the NPC near the Battle Masters in the main city to cut off XP and do the 60 raids at level 60 on a Wrath server with Wrath talents. And it's just, it's like a look at what it would be like if they did the, you know, the version of Classic Plus that people talk about, of like giving Wrath talents and doing a Classic Plus, you know, level 60 cap and everything like that with Wrath talents. It's like a look at what that might look like. And it's just a cool idea, cool project. So anybody who's interested in stuff like that, Go and some of the other folks have been doing that, and they'll be streaming it, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And yeah, check it out.
And it's Maladath Horde on NA East Coast server. And we've only been raiding like one night a week on Saturdays. Well, we raided like a ZG Monday. So it's just like ZG has that small reset still. So we can kind of get in there, try to get the hit gear from that, because there's still not that much hit gear at level 60, even in Wrath. So yeah, it's been really fun to theorycraft and see like, yeah, what kind of gear can I get? And we just figure out more stuff like every week. You can get Wrath enchants on the gear. You can get Wrath gems socketed into the TBC gear. I can't tell you how many times I've run Ramparts. I think I'm burnt out of Ramparts. I can wait another 3 years till I do that, but
get more spell power from the Wrath gems than from the piece itself.
Yeah, like I have it's a leg piece from Ramps, I think, and it's got 3 sockets, and I have 319 spell power gems in there. And it's like, yeah, you're not going to find anything like that at level 60, like pre-TBC. And then it's got the enchant too, like the TBC enchant on there, so it's got loads of spell power. Yeah, it's insane. But I did a little PTR with 2 of you guys, but yeah, PTR was on a bad timing for me, but it's coming back up in a week. Yeah, a week from today, right? The 15th.
Yep, a week from today.
Yeah.
From
15th,
when we're recording it. This goes up Tuesday, so it'll be shorter by the time some people hear this. But yeah, I'll be trying to get in the PTR a lot more then. But yeah, it was interesting.
It's cool to see some of the fights and stuff like that, like how I remember them versus what they might be like this time around. Like, who knows? Like, is it actually different, or did I just remember it different? Like that sort of thing. Looking forward, especially in the next round, to like check out the Gamma stuff. Like that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, when you need gear, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the next phase. But like, I suppose when you're already in BIS, like TOGC gear, like phase 4, all you're looking forward to is ICC. And you've actually got something to play. Like, you know, I'm looking forward more to phase 4 than any other phase in Wrath so far. And it is partly because of the changes they've done, which I never thought I'd say. And partly because, yeah, like I just want to level, but I want to level 3 characters during phase 4 with RDF. And obviously then gear all of them up, which I've loved doing these beta dungeons on the Druid. You know, actually having reason to do them. Like I've never really done them. I might have done the odd one for a daily or something like that, but there's been no reason to do it. But actually killing bosses in beta dungeons and needing loot, it's literally felt like we've gone fresh. Because as like yous know, we've got half the bloody EU guild leveling on NA at the moment. So like during the day, none of yous are on, and we're doing 10-man raids and shit. You know, like the guild's pumping all the time on NA at the moment because we've got you know, us on during the day, yous on overnight. There's just always stuff to do. It's been a lot of fun.
That's a great segue to hop into the news. I was given Bob a second post edit to put in his news sound. So
let me see if I can. Time for the news.
There we go. Just saved him 5 minutes of editing. No, but there was some news a week ago about the Gamma dungeons and RDF being testable on the PTR. I haven't got on there to test RDF yet or the new dungeons, but I know Scotty was like the first one in there. And have you been back, or was it just that?
No, I used the RDF this morning for one Gamma dungeon. That was it. Yeah, it works pretty much as you would expect. Yeah, luck of the draw was put in, which I weren't expecting. Actually, that was quite surprising. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, I didn't even see it. Like, I went on and done a dungeon this morning and didn't even notice it. It weren't until someone posted a screenshot and put it on disc. I was like, Yeah, I didn't even look for that because I just didn't expect it to be there. But yeah, you get a 5% damage and healing buff for using RDF. You're getting the XP bonus from it if you're doing it at low level, and some of it's quite substantial. I think Neo said, I think it was Neo, said that you was getting like 10k at the end for level 60 in a 60 dungeon, which, 10k is pretty much a quest, maybe just over a quest at that level, something like that. So yeah, pretty good.
I mean, I want to be kind of like you, but not 3 tunes. I want to level up at least 1 tune. So I need to get like a tune up to 15, so that as soon as RDF goes live on the live servers, I'll hop in and spam dungeons. I can't wait.
Well, that's what I've done. Yeah, I've done that already. I've got 1 more character that I need to get to 15. Oh, like they're on Mancrick, but yeah, all of them. I just want 3 characters at 15 ready to go. But yeah, you obviously tanks and healers mainly. Occasionally it might be DPS, but you're getting a bag as well. So if your role is in high demand, you'll get the satchel of exotic mysteries or whatever it's called. Yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
So Table, let me throw you the question from Mega Man in chat. How would you feel if RDF was cross faction?
I guess it depends on how. It depends really on how they're going to actually do RDF, because like from back in the day, there was like battle groups from like the PvP side of things. Like you'd have servers in battle groups, and then in the Dungeon Finder was just within your battle group. And then they might have changed it at some point to just be everybody, but at first it was just battle group. And there's a lot of people saying that like they think that RDF should only be like on your same server, but there's people that play on dead servers that still won't be able to find groups even with RDF. So for those players, it makes sense for it to be cross server. So it depends, first of all, on whether or not they decide to do same server RDF or across everything. If they decide to do across everything, that maybe cross faction wouldn't be the greatest idea. But if they decide to do same server, then cross faction should definitely be what they decide to do. Because otherwise, like, say you're playing Alliance on Mancrick, it's like a heavily horde dominated server. You're still not going to be able to find groups if it's same server, even though it's a very populated server. If you're playing on the minority faction on a heavily populated server, you're still not going to find groups if it's server only. So it'll depend. It'll depend on how they decide to do it, whether they do cross realm or same realm. So my answer would kind of flip flop either way, depending on which one they decide to do.
Yeah, because I want to level up another tune on Maladath, where my 60 is, and get it up to like 80. But that server, Horde and Alliance, is dead. There's just nobody on that server, which is kind of why I picked it for the project. But if I could at least cross realm and go with, it doesn't have to be like the mega server, it doesn't have to be like Benediction or anything, but even if it's matched with other 5K or lower pop servers, if they just want to tie in all the small servers together into a battle group and leave like the mega servers alone, but I would need some help to even find a group on the server that I'm on, or just merge them before this comes out or something. I don't know what they could do, but
jeez, it's storming pretty hard where I'm at. I don't know if you can hear that.
A little bit. It sounds windy, but
that was thunder. It's still happening. But I think I remember I can't remember how long ago it was, but you and I and Bob and I think Mel grouped together and did a battleground, because we're friends on BattleNet. So we were able to add each other to a group and then queue for a battleground together. It'd be interesting to see if they do a similar functionality with RDF. Like if you're friends with somebody on BattleNet who's on a different server, you can add them to your group through BattleNet and then queue for RDF together. I think that would be really cool, but that would necessitate them doing it cross realm. So there's a bunch of different ways they could do it. If they decide to do the cross realm, they should totally allow you to invite people through BattleNet and queue up together through that. And I think if they're doing that, might as well do, maybe cross faction for that would be cool too. Like there's a ton of stuff that they could do with it. Like no matter what they do, they're making the game easier to play with your friends, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah. And when I leveled up on that private server, was the Kata server, Scotty?
White Mane.
Yeah. When I leveled up on that one was cross faction, and I couldn't tell you, like, I wasn't looking at people's faction in there. Like I wasn't like, oh, we got matched with a human. Like cool, because I was Horde. Like I didn't care. Like so I wouldn't mind if they did make it, cross faction as well. What do you think, Scotty?
Yeah, I mean, for me, random dungeon finder's there for convenience, right? That is literally its sole purpose of existing. So the quicker you can make those queues, the better. I like cross faction, cross realm. I don't care. Like, I don't go into a dungeon to get some sort of immersion or immersive experience and be like, oh, come on, guys, let's battle these dragons together. Like, I don't give a shit. I just want to get in. I want to kill the last boss and I want to leave. Who I'm doing it with, I don't care. I'm not that fond of the RP-ness, actually. It not doesn't really bother me. So I just want to get in and get out. Like, the bigger the pool of players that can physically be matched with you, the better for me.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of private server things that that Blizzard have implemented over the years. It's cross pretty much exclude, like everything's cross faction in retail now, right? Even guilds, like everything. I believe I don't know about guilds, but yeah, everything like raids and dungeons and all of that is cross faction. And private servers done it first.
I heard,
and it's just a no-brainer.
In retail, I heard that they're making it so any race can be druid too. I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't know if I want to see a gnome druid running around. I mean, I guess it'd make a cute little baby boomkin form or something, but
I was about to say only if their forms are smaller.
Yeah, the form scales with the size of the class or the race.
I don't keep up with retail, so I couldn't tell you. No, I think there still should be, there needs to be restrictions. But the one thing I love, and I would love to see Blizzard do, is actually what Whitemane do, which is faction shift, racial shift. Sorry, it's called racial shift. And if that was in, like, Classic should just put that in, because like what race you are should purely be aesthetic. Really, it should be like I like playing a gnome. So I want to be a gnome, like, or whatever I want. But if your class can physically be that race, you can take the racial benefits from another race. So for me, for example, as a Tauren Druid, I can technically play as a Night Elf, and obviously in Cata I'd be able to play Troll. But I could still be a Tauren Druid, but I could have the Troll racials if I chose to take the Troll racials. Because I do feel like you shouldn't have to be a race that you don't want to be just purely because it's such a big PvE benefit. You should be able to be the race that you want and get the PvE benefit, because otherwise, what it just doesn't matter, does it? Yeah. Like you're gonna go Troll Druid when Cata comes out. You will go Troll Druid. But it'd be nice to have the option. No, exactly. But it would be nice to be able to be a Tauren Druid, but just literally racial shift, which has a gold cost, and you can only do it once every 30 days or however often, and then you can just racial shift your passive bonuses and on-use bonuses from racial abilities as whatever race you want, basically. But what can still play that class?
There's other games that are sort of like that, except for like Final Fantasy 14 is probably one of the most popular ones that has a similar thing where like your racial choice is literally just for aesthetic reasons. There's no actual like PvE or PvP benefit to being one race over another. It's literally just what you most closely identify with or how you want your character to look. But in that game, there's like very, very minor stat bonus differences between the things, but it's not enough to like make it matter. So it's pretty much just an aesthetic choice. And of course, in WoW, there are actual like abilities that the different races have. So like it's not as cut and dry with that. Like to remove that for the sake of aesthetics, I don't think a lot of people would be very happy with that. But that racial shift thing that you're talking about, there's a lot of people who are currently Tauren Druids that would be going Troll, but are salty about it because it means if they want to go Troll for Cata, they have to pay Blizzard money to do it. And
that's even if they have that option, like as the Cata servers launch, like they might hold it off.
Oh, of course they would. That's loads of money for them. Yeah, they would.
Yeah, but I can see see them going the route where it's like, oh well, we're gonna wait a month or two to try to like force people to re-roll and start a new tune. They're gonna be like, well, everything's account bound now, so it's not like you're losing anything by making a new tune. So I hope that I hope that racial shift thing kind of goes in. It'd be cool to even have like dual spec. So one spec has one race ability. So I could have like War Stomp for my PvP spec and then Berserking for my PvE spec or something like that. So it wasn't like a 30-day cooldown where it's like, okay, well I can PvP this month and then I got to wait 30 days to PvE and stuff. I'm sure there's loads of other classes that would probably have like a PvP and PvE like thing with them. Cool. Next thing in the news, we've got the Defiler's Scourgestone vendor was on the PTR, so they're going to continue on with how they had phase 3 with the Sidereal Essence vendor for Ulduar. They're now going to have Defiler's Scourgestone in the Gamma dungeons, and that's one Scourgestone per boss in the Gamma dungeons, right, Scotty?
Yeah, one per boss. And you can trade them down for Sidereal as well. I mean, yeah, it's going to be rapid gearing. Like, it's how, let's face it, it's how Sidereal Essence should have been in the first place. It should have been one per boss, but maybe put the cost of the items up a little bit. But yeah, it should have always been one per boss, and it's like literally the biggest complaint about beta dungeons since they launched, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, what they're doing, absolutely, can't fault them at all.
I wonder if there's any particular reason why they decided to make it one per boss. Like, I wonder if they just weren't happy with the fact that people were doing skip runs and stuff. Like, they're trying to incentivize people to kill all the bosses in a dungeon instead of like, like the Old Kingdom skip, where you can have a mage teleport through the invisible wall and have a lock summon you to the other side, and then you skip 2 of the bosses.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they were unhappy about that, and they wanted people to actually run the dungeon. Maybe that's why.
That is what they said.
Yeah, I think there was.
Yeah, they're in the developer notes.
Yeah. So I mean that makes sense.
And then you can also use these to buy Primordial Serenite, which is used for the crafted gear and Shadowmourne. So
you can get 5 a day per person. Yeah, that bit is a little bit mental.
That's if they keep the prices the same. They could be placeholder prices for now. They could be doing some stuff like people could be saying like, hey, we're going to be able to get 5 of these a day, and they're like, well, that's kind of a lot. Yeah, let's bump it up from 12 to like 20 or something.
Yeah,
I think I would expect the prices to change for everything, because they did the same thing with Sidereals. Like, Sidereal Essence used to be like everything from that vendor was more expensive when it was on PTR, and they changed it. They made it a little bit less, and then at one point I think they made it like too little, and then they re-increased them a little bit. So like, I would not expect the prices that we saw on that first round of PTR. I would not expect those to be the actual prices that it launches with. It'll probably change a little more because they're going to fine tune things here and there. So, whatever information people have seen by either being on the PTR themselves or what's been reported through Wowhead and other news outlets and things like that, I would not expect those to be the final prices. Like, they'll probably change a little bit.
Another cool thing with the gear, because it's 25-man normal TOC gear that's on the vendor, and there's some BOE pieces on there too, so you can spend the stuff you're getting from your main to even help your alt gear up even more. So you can spend the stuff that's BOP for your alt, and then the BOEs ship over from your main. So you could be doing the Gamma dungeons on 2 tunes at a time and just speed up your gearing that much faster.
Or just sell them.
Yeah,
like people were doing with like the Valor bracers. Those were BOE. People were selling those at first.
You could get you can buy a token from selling one of these BOEs.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, we got loads of news today since there wasn't any voicemails or anything like that. So we've got the Joyous Journeys buff is back in. I haven't really done any leveling. I have a DK on Maladath, and it's just my Black Lotus farming tune. So I got like half a level today farming some Black Lotus, but I mean, it's always nice having 50% extra XP.
I feel they should have just had it on the whole time, to be honest. Like, leveling, especially in the way that Wrath is right now, and even the way TBC was, and I mean, to be honest, even the way Vanilla Classic was, the leveling was like a speed bump. The leveling was like a chore that you had to do. Like, you had to wash the dishes before you could have your dessert. That's like what it felt like the whole time. Like, leveling, like, there's so many people that don't have as many characters at max level as they would like to have because they hate leveling. So Joyous Journeys should have just been in the whole time. Like, it's just kind of unfortunate that it was always like right before the next patch. Like, it should just be in the whole time. So every time to see it come back, it's very nice because it's like, oh, cool. Now I can start working on some alts that I've been sitting on since the last Joyous Journeys ended. Like,
yeah, and then
again, I still feel like there's a better way of doing it.
Oh, Joyous Journeys.
Because like, yeah, like it's good. Don't get me wrong. Like I've abused the shit out of it with my druid. Like I literally just started fishing. As soon as I saw, like I predicted. I don't know if you I was talking to Go, but I was certainly on stream talking about it. I said Joyous Journeys would come out Friday or Monday. Like, I called it before it even come out. Like I was saying that early last week because Agron put a tweet out saying time for Joyous Journeys or something like that. He put out. So it was obvious it was coming, and I'm trying to level a druid at the same time, which is like, well, I'm wasting my time, aren't I? I'm wasting my time doing it now when I could be doing it with 50% XP. So yeah, I started fishing on whenever it came out. Like, I'm sure it came out Tuesday, like Tuesday early hours, because I knew it was coming out. But it's just a poor way of implementing it. Where people, what they're doing is not playing the game. They're like, they'll come back when Joyous Journeys is coming out instead of just leveling now. But what's the point of physically having a buff that gives you 50% extra XP? You could just cut the whole leveling by a third or whatever you need to do, like rather than it being a buff, just if there's a need for it to put it in to get people to level, then clearly the leveling takes too long, just make it quicker. Like a permanent, no, it don't need to be a permanent Joyous Journeys, just permanently make the fucking XP reduction. And I know what you're thinking. You're then like, yeah, but at least Joyous Journeys you can turn off if you don't want the extra XP. Who's going to do that? Who's going to go and turn the XP off? Like, no one that you can have the option, but no one's going to actually go and turn it off, are they? Let's be honest.
Well, actually, the hardcore players that play Wrath Hardcore and Maladeath, they always turn the Joyous Journeys off. Actually,
oh well, they can play there on their own, and they can just do their hardcore journey slightly quicker. And that's it. That's how it's going to affect them. But no, like I have to compare. Like, private servers always come up with the best ideas. Like they do. Like Blizzard is shit scared to do anything because of backlash. That's the only thing I can put it down to. But like Whitemane's leveling system is banging, where actually the more max level characters you've got, the more XP you get on future characters. So like imagine Joyous Journey. So you have to level your first character with just standard rate XP. The second character you level, you might get a 25% XP bonus. The third character you level, you might get 50% XP bonus. The fourth character you level, you get where I'm going to go with this. I mean, I can sit here and go for 10 characters if you want, but I reckon you can probably work the maths out.
We've got time.
I've already confused myself, so I'm not sure what the next one was. But you know what I mean? Like that's a brilliant way to do it, because it's like, well, yeah, you've already done it once. You've already done it twice. So the more characters you level, the quicker it gets. Can you toggle it off? Yeah, sure, why not? If you want to have a way to toggle it back down to 0% buff, if that's what you want to do, then fine. No one would, but
can I hit you with in this day and age,
oh my God,
most people have more than one account. So if they have one account that's got like 4 max level tunes, and then their other account only has like 1, and then they have to like pick. They're like, oh, well, I'm just gonna make this tune on this like account and just keep boosting this account. And then like the other account, they're never gonna like make another tune on. I don't have 2 accounts. I don't know how that would feel.
Well, if you look at it like that, I mean, I'll tell you why that's bollocks, right? Because if that was true, there's no way on earth I would have just started a new account on NA. Because when we started on NA, you've got no heirlooms. You can't fly at 70. You've got no reputation, so you have to physically get all the head enchants, the leg enchants. But there's still things. It doesn't need to be XP related to be really off-putting to start, doing something on a second account or even a third account or whatever. But if you want to do it, that's what you're going to do, aren't you? Like I would still level on another account. So I've got one account that's like got, I don't know, 4 level 80s on, and then I've got another one that's got 2, and then I've got this one now that's got 1. But if for some reason I wanted to start another account, I wouldn't be off-put by the fact that I've got no heirlooms. You just accept the fact that that's what's going to happen, and then the XP would be the same. It's like, well, unlucky. But it could be account wide. It could be Battle.net account wide anyway, or however you want to do it. You know, there's ways around it. But I just think Joyous Journeys is a really shit way of implementing extra XP. It's something like Table said straight away, it should just be on all the time.
Yeah.
So if everyone thinks it should be on all the time, why do you physically need a buff for 50% extra XP? Just do something about that 50% extra XP we're getting, whether it's embedded into account or it's being removed from the overall XP required or like whatever. But having it as a buff, just it's weird.
See, I'd rather have it be more interactive than just like, hey, we just turned on this passive buff that you had nothing to do in order to activate it. If it was something like do an RDF and you get an hour of 50% bonus XP after doing an RDF or something. It could be like 5 hours, like whatever. That's just a little example. Like something more like that where you're playing the game and then you get rewarded to get the extra XP by playing the game.
Yeah.
Like something more more interactive than here buff happen at noon.
Yeah, they didn't even they never announced. Maybe they have announced Joyous Journeys. Let me take that back. But yeah, there's
nothing more interactive than there's nothing more interactive than like going shopping. So it could be as like interactive as opening the Blizzard store and then paying like $5 and then getting bonus XP. Like, I mean, that's pretty fucking interactive. I wouldn't mind doing that.
Cost of 1 WoW token.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it could be like they could bring refer a friend back. You know, you and your refer a friend get bonus XP for a week.
You know what that actually was, though, didn't you? I mean, Blizzard used to do things properly back then because they had people who understood how the game works. You know, it used to be triple XP, yeah? It was 300%.
And you had like 10 free levels,
not 50%.
Right?
You could grant levels to each other.
Every other level, yeah. So every 2 levels gained, the recruitee could grant the recruiter 1 level per 2 levels. So if you leveled 2 characters to 60 together, the person who recruited would get a level 60 for free.
See, that's cool. That's more interactive. It's not just, hey, here's a passive buff. Turn it off if you hate it. You're
preaching to the choir. I love not rested XP. Well, I love that as well. But I love Recruiter Friend.
Code Reloaded.
Yeah. I used to just recruit accounts like myself, you know, and then just go around multi-boxing, and he used to be banging. I used to love playing with myself. It's never changed.
Used to and still do too. Got it.
Yep. I'm just having to refrain at the moment.
Classic.
All right. Next thing.
Yeah, definitely cool. They decided to bring it back again.
Yeah.
Even though we think that it should have been on all the time, but it's kind of, they set a precedent, right? Like every time it's like right before a new patch, they've been bringing it back. So I don't think anybody's surprised by the fact that Joyous Journey is coming back.
Yeah, it's usually like a month before the next patch comes out. So
something like that. Yeah, to help people like who are like it's pretty obvious that they're doing it to entice people to come back to the game. The people that took a break from the game partway through, you know, they raid the new content for like a few weeks and then they take a break and then they come back for the next set of content. Joyous Journeys is very clearly and obviously supposed to be a way to entice players back. Hey, it's time to come back and get ready for the new stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Next thing up in the news we've got is the Defense Protocol Gamma spells. I put beta. Almost read that out like that was gospel, but no, the new spells for the Gamma dungeons, which we talked about on our podcast, Scotty, the other night, Cubicle Chat, by the way, and they seem pretty interesting.
Oh, was you there? Was you?
There's one that's like a tank. There's one for tanks, like a buff for tanks that they can choose for healers and for melee or caster DPS. So 4 different buffs. And I didn't realize that the tank buff is kind of like a boosted thorns buff. And I guess it scales with something. And people were saying that, you know, the tooltip says like 1,000 to 1,400 damage when the tank dodge, blocks, or parries. But they were getting like 7k hits off of this thorns buff. And that seemed kind of cool because that's loads more damage. Like 1k, it's like, eh. But
definitely incentivizes massive pulls for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
know for sure, like when I'm tanking Gamma dungeons, I'll be trying to pull entire rooms of stuff. Like think of like Halls of Stone, all those elementals you pull.
Oh yeah.
And that little weird hallway thing, like they'll just kill themselves on my thorns.
How did those buffs feel though, Scotty? Since I think you're the only one here that's run the gammas.
I'll be honest with you. When they updated the PTR, that thorns buff must have changed. So yeah, I'll put it out there because when even Stark was looking at it, and it was averaging like 1300 per hit. It wasn't scaling with anything. So that's definitely changed since the day one testing that I was looking at and Stark was looking at. I think the healer buff is a bit special. I think the devs are currently working on Kata and forgot how Wrath healers work. I'm guessing that's probably what's happened. Like, no healer's going to take the healer buff. There's just no fucking point. Like, healers might as well either take... If you're a paladin, you might as well take either the caster buff or the melee buff, whichever one you want. Because as a holy paladin, you do both melee and spells. So... I don't get it. I don't really see the point of the healer buff because even with 100% extra spell damage, you're still not going to do much damage as a healer. Let's face it, So that needs reworking completely, in my opinion. Although I like what they was trying to do, but it's
definitely an interesting idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it was Kata, it would be brilliant. Like absolutely, like imagine an atonement disc priest with that. Like that would be mental. But in Wrath, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't belong there. Like they could have just done something a bit different. So I don't think that will be used. The other buffs, it's awesome, man. I think it's a really, really cool, lazy way to do Gamma dungeons. Because ultimately, that's what it is. Let's be honest. It's been like practically zero effort. All they've done is just increased health and damage, which is like probably about 2 lines of code, and then. Just added an NPC that gives us some buffs. It was a real... And this is why I didn't think that we would even get Gamma dungeons. Because there would have been a lot of effort involved if they wanted to do it properly. Instead, this is not me shitting on them. I think it's fun. I genuinely think Gamma dungeons are fun. So I'm not saying that then it's not good what they've done. But it was a very lazy way of implementing Gamma dungeons. They added brand new mechanics to Alpha, brand new mechanics to counter the Alpha mechanics, and then Gamma, it's like, we'll just add the same buffs in every single dungeon and put health and damage up. Like that, bit of just a cop out.
Yeah.
And then the ICC ones is brilliant as well. Sorry, Go. The ICC ones is brilliant because they said, it was to sort of uphold the experience of 2009 so everyone can experience it. It definitely wasn't the fact that they couldn't think of anything to do.
Let's preserve the nostalgia for people that enjoyed those 3 dungeons.
They definitely tried adding mechanics to it and it didn't work.
Mega Man's asking what the healer buff does. The healer buff basically makes it so that healers are incentivized to help out with damage a little bit too. Every time you heal, it makes your damaging spells a little more effective.
Yeah, so your spell and range damage... No, wait. Damaging. That's the haste one.
You heal 5 times. You heal 5 times, and then once you... Like 5 direct heals. Don't even work for Resto Druids Hot-In, for example. But you heal 5 direct heals, and then you get 100% extra spell damage for, I think it's 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you have to stack it again. So it's fairly fucking useless. But we've thought about ways to snapshot fire rallies with it, for example. Having a Resto Shaman take it for a boss and then literally, stack it up and then boom, pop in a fire rally or something. There'll be ways that people can use that to cheese it, but it will be hybrid specs. It won't actually be healers that are doing anything with it.
I mean, Resto Druids, you throw a regrowth on all 5 people in the party and then cast Hurricane. You snapshot the Hurricane with the damage buff. There you go.
Yeah, but Wild Growth won't do anything.
Right, just do it with regrowth. Spell. The direct heal from regrowth should trigger it.
Yeah, but then you're gonna have to do that 5 times. Like, it's a.
By the time you get all 5 regrowths out, the pack's already almost dead. Like
the pack's dead. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's got very limited use. If it lasted 20 seconds, that's now starting to get useful. 20 seconds of double damage as a healer, you can start to do things. But at the end of the day, who is it actually useful for? Like a paladin's never going to make use of that. Because you've only got Holy Shock and Judgment, you know, you've not got that much that you can do. All right, consecrate, but it's like none of it's big, is it? It's not like a priest who could holy fire, spam smite. You know, that's cool. That could work. A boomy, like a resto druid, you know, like Raffin, that's going to take you out of tree form. Like it's just all clunky. It's just a weird.
Yeah, all the hybrid classes that could potentially benefit from it, their bonus from just taking the damage one is going to be more impactful than taking the healing one and trying to do hybrid stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you run a tank in 4 DPS and then the 4th DPS is a hybrid healer and that's how they're doing it. Like that's the only thing I can think of is you do gamma dungeons with 1 tank in 4 DPS and one of the DPS is actually the healer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's it. I think it's cool though. Like, you know, back to your original question. I think it's quite cool, but like some of it could have just been thought out a little bit better probably.
Yeah, because how much downtime are the healers really going to have since they boosted the damage everyone takes by 70%? Or what's the tooltip for that? Like 70%
it's
more
like 30%
damage
extra
that they do. Yeah. So like, are healers really going to have downtime to even take advantage of that and try that out?
Yeah, they're going to have the spare GCD to take advantage of the spell damage buff. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Because I was hearing that there was one mechanic. I mean, there's probably many that were like one-shotting people because it does, you know, like 16k health, like in one swing. And it's just like, yeah, if a couple people are getting chunked for 75-90% of their health, yeah, like the healer's supposed to do damage somehow too. Like what? Or is that just supposed to help them on trash maybe, and they can clear trash faster? Or
it completely comes down to the eye level or gear score requirement to get into these things, don't it? Like really, like to get into Gamma, it really comes down to what is the expected eye level to go in. At the moment on the PTR, it's 200, which is obviously far too low.
Yeah.
Yes, you could absolutely, like us three, we could grab another couple of people we know and we could clear them with 200 eye level, no problem. But you're not going to get a group of 5 people who know what they're doing in every run. You know, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, with a pre-made, probably possible. With completely random people, probably not.
No. So it's going to be what the actual requirement is for the dungeons, which again, I think it's actually a really good opportunity for some path of progression into raiding. You know, now by adding random dungeon finder, they're actually making alpha and beta relevant even with gamma being out. Which that was my biggest complaint about beta. As much as I think they're actually good, the beta dungeons are good, the biggest complaint was it made alpha completely irrelevant. It's a whole sort of level of content that they made that then more or less got made irrelevant the day beta came out. Whereas now it should be like a natural path of progression. You know, you're freshly dinged. If you can afford to go and buy loads of epics from the auction house and get crafted and all that, yes, you can skip some of it, but you would go heroics or even normals, but let's face it, probably heroic. You'd go into heroics, then you get the gear scores to go into alpha, then you get the gear scores to go into beta, and then gamma. So you're always striving to unlock the next level of dungeon finder, and then once you're gamma geared, it's like, right, yeah, I'm going into raids. It makes a nice sort of leveling, gearing up experience once you finish leveling.
The thing that's nice also about random dungeon finder is it's going to make it a lot easier for people, because I can't remember the last time I saw somebody looking for an alpha dungeon. Like you're saying, the betas basically made them irrelevant. But with random dungeon finder being able to specifically queue for a random alpha dungeon, you're going to see people actually doing it. And of course, with the heroic lockout system, you can only run 1 heroic a day. But for those who remember the way that random dungeon finder was back in the day, you could do however many you wanted a day, as long as it was the random dungeon. If you clicked a random dungeon, you could get put into a heroic that you had already done that day, but you could do it again because you did it through the random option. If you specifically choose which ones to queue for, you'll be still locked out of the ones that you've already done that day. But if you choose the random one after you've already run all of them, you can still run them a second time because it's through the random one.
So yeah, it's interesting because we had this argument earlier. Actually, we was when I was streaming, we was talking exactly about this because that's something where it had been through various iterations, and I couldn't remember for the life of me whether it was Wrath or it was Kata where it's like that. Because like in Kata, especially on private servers, obviously I genuinely can't remember what it was like in 2010. You know, you could only go and do them all once, even if you was queuing for random. Once you're locked out, that's it. You're done. And I think with the amount of currency that we're getting from them in Wrath and power of the currency, you know, with Scourgestones being added and yeah, getting triumphs from every boss, and I almost feel like you shouldn't be able to just queue repeatedly. It should be like you can do them all once a day.
Yeah, once a day sounds good to me. But back on the RDF thing, did they have the vote to kick option?
Where... I didn't look. I mean, if you was in the group, I'd have probably tested it. But
yeah, I forget how many people it was. You needed what, 4 remember? Like you needed the other 4
3.
people, just 3. Yeah,
no, not 4, just 3. Yeah.
I wonder if they're gonna.
Starks just said vote to kick there.
Vote to kick is in. Okay.
It's there. Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I thought that back before Wrath Classic was even launched, in this whole discussion of, you know, how should RDF come out, I thought a lot of people were like, yeah, the kick option can be abused and is very toxic.
Yeah, it needs to be there though.
Yeah. It can be, yeah. Like if you get randomly matched, like say you got like a paladin tank and a disc priest healer match, that's like, oh, perfect, cool. And you get 2 rogues and a hunter, you vote to kick the lower eye level rogue. That's like how it always was back then. Like whoever has the worst gear, the one that's going to like potentially contribute the least to the run, you just kick them, and it's a DPS, so you instantly get another one.
Yeah, so you also wouldn't get locked, which was, again, more important when you're working with a random dungeon finder where you can only do things once. But even at lower level, it's important when you're leveling, like if you're level 50 and you're trying to get BRD Prism runs to level fast, you'd get in Sunken Temple and you would all vote to kick each other. And then as long as 2 people was kicked, then you all leave and you don't get the deserter buff. So you can all then instantly queue again. But that would be really, really frustrating for people who actually wanted to do Sunken Temple, for example. You know, you've got in and you're like, oh, I've got all the quests in Sunken Temple. I've not done these yet. And then you instantly get kicked and you're like, what? Why? Like, what did I do? But it's because everybody's just trying to get, you know, prism runs. So there's like really, really... there's downsides to it, and it would need to be cleverly implemented. Like I don't think you should be able to kick anyone for 10 minutes. I think like, because somewhat like me, for example, let's say I got in a group with you don't know me, and I'm getting child aggro. So yeah, I am slacking a bit, I'm struggling, you know, but then obviously I can play, but you don't know that. You've just seen like I've had to go AFK in the first minute of the dungeon. You're just instantly like, get rid of him, we'll get someone else. You know, when it's so quick and easy to do it, that people don't have patience. Yeah. So I feel like you don't really know what that person's going to be like unless you play with them for 10 minutes. You know, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I think at least just having a timer on it, and then that would stop the instant kicking if you get a dungeon that you don't want to do, so you don't get a debuff and all of that. Yeah, again, it's just a thought.
Yeah, if I got random dungeon finder for like Oculus Gamma or something, I'd be like, yeah, guys, kick me. Just vote to kick me.
Yeah, but that's so that leads to even more toxicity than kicking someone for being shit, because that's what you get. You get a dickhead like you who stands at the entrance and refuses to do anything and says, kick me, and they won't do anything. And you're like, and now you've got no choice. You've got to kick that person because they're just refusing to even do anything. It's like, that's why if it was 10 minutes and you was like, well, if I got to stay here for 10 minutes, if it's going to take 20 minutes, I might as well just stay here and do it. You know, you're then like, well, yeah, you might as well just do it. Yeah. So I think it needs a timer before you can physically kick someone.
And if the penalty...
But then that also has got a downside.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you could join and go AFK for 10 minutes and just leech rep, knowing you can't get kicked. So it's fucking hard, man. It's hard.
And then, like, or if the penalty was harder, if it was like, if I got voted to get kicked and I had to, like, an hour debuff, that was like the deserter buff or whatever, then I would probably just like, yeah, let's try it. I'll give it the 10 minutes and see if we can even do this dungeon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard one, that. But, you know, you just hope that everyone can play and it's nice and smooth. But then that also comes a bit down to gear score, don't it? Or eye level. You know, that does the onus falls a little bit on Blizzard there to make sure that the eye level requirement is realistic in terms of, like, if you're trying to get gear, you obviously want to be going in there to get upgrades. So your eye level should be a standard where you can do the content, but you can get lots of upgrades in there, but not so low that you go in and you're going to instantly get kicked because everyone feels like they're carrying you.
Yeah.
You could almost do with, like, you know, like alpha and beta. I feel like, no, that wouldn't work. I was going to say you could also do with having a cap, you know, like as in a min and a max. So you're not going to get people queuing with like 5.5k gear score to an alpha dungeon, and then because someone's got 4k, they're getting kicked. You know, but then that also wouldn't work, because then if like Go leveled a new character and I wanted to queue with him, I'm over that cap. You know,
you got to put.
Yeah. It was a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Or do you queue up by taking a piece of gear off, and then as soon as you get in the dungeon, you put the piece on, and now you've
that's a good idea.
6k. Yeah.
Run the whole run with your fishing pole equipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see what else they plan to do with RDF, because it seems like it's still very much under construction, if you will.
I don't envy them for having to make these decisions, though, because like we're talking about, like, it's not an easy problem to solve, and no matter what they do, somebody's going to have something to say about it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's good. Like, it's too hard to find a solution that works for everybody, that everybody's happy with. Like, they have to accept the fact that, like, some people are gonna hate what they do no matter what, and they just have to do what they think is best for the game at the end of the day. But they also have to listen to what the players want, to see what the players think is the best for the game too. But there's a lot of players who are idiots who don't know what's best for their class, even, let alone the whole game. So like, it's not easy for Blizzard. I think Blizzard gets a lot of flack for a lot of things, but there's people who just blindly hate on Blizzard. And I don't know, that's not the best thing for a player base to be like.
Yeah.
And then one last thing on RDF really quick was I remember leveling on that Cata private server and being a boomy as I leveled, and I wasn't able to hit need roll on cloth gear. That was spell power gear. So the lower level stuff, getting up to level 70 or whatever, until there's more leather spell power gear, that really sucked. That like I would have to sit there and not be able to roll on gear those upgrades for me as a boomy. I doubt anything like that's going to get changed, like on the lower level end of the RDF tool, but boomy can dream.
Yeah, there was more reason for that though, wasn't there?
Yeah,
there was a lot more behind that. You know, obviously, it's the fact that at level 40 you get specialization, so, or 50 you get specialization, where, you know, you have, well, you don't have to, but you'd be a bit of an idiot not to. Yeah, you have to wear your armor. So if you wear leather, you wear leather. You don't wear cloth. But then at the same time, it does also save us from idiots. You know, warriors that are needing on intellect gear, like cloth intellect gear, because it's got a little bit more stamina on or whatever. So
I want to level my weapon skill faster.
Yeah. But you do. You have to take the good with the bad, don't you? I mean, yeah, it is annoying. And trust me, you know, I feel your pain, Go, because I leveled loads of characters on Cata, and yeah, I'll be on a level 20 druid, and a piece of cloth will drop, and it's like, but that's better. I want to use it. But yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah.
Be interested to see if the because there was in original Wrath, when they first implemented like the satchel of helpful goods and everything like that, every once in a while you would get an item in the satchel that either was an armor type that you couldn't even equip in the first place, or it was for the opposite specialization for what you would use. Like, I remember running my rogue back in the day through random dungeons, and a couple times I got a piece of plate in the satchel. There was one time I was running through on my prot warrior, and I got a piece of healing gear in there, cloth healing gear. I was like, what is happening? So like, whatever was causing the bug to make that happen back then, hopefully that doesn't make it to the live game or even the PTR. Hopefully they know what they're doing by now with that sort of thing. But I mean, who knows?
Yeah, that shouldn't happen. But what you're saying about actual for your specialization, yeah, that can happen. You know, like if you're a druid and you're feral, yeah, you absolutely could get intellect gear in it. Or yeah, you can definitely get gear that you don't actually want to use. But obviously there is no, it's not like, I don't know, would have been Mop, where you can actually set specialization. And then that's when that completely changed, didn't it? You would set your specialization that you're a Mistweaver or you're a Brewmaster or whatever, and then on personal loot, for example, you would get loot for your spec, not just for your class. Whereas, yeah, from basically 3.3.5 onwards is class, not spec.
All right, we got a couple hardcore news. So, Scotty, if you want to go get a gin, sit in the hot tub for about 30 minutes and come back, because I know you don't really have any interest in hardcore.
I got things I can do on my druid.
You can fish, yeah. Get your fishing up. Get your Did you get your engineering up for?
Yeah, I'm maxed NGJC. Yeah.
Okay, all right. But yeah, the first thing related to hardcore was there was a tournament over the week. Was it over the weekend? I think it was over the week. No, it was during the week. I don't know. It was sometime in the past week, and I had no idea that it was even going on until it was like an hour from the tournament starting. I talked to Table about this. Table didn't see this posted on any of the hardcore Discords, and it was sponsored by like OTK, which is like S-Fan and Soda Poppin' and that whole lot. And it was a hardcore race that was like a 3-hour tournament. And then it was like a duel to the death, like the Mak'gora. I think.
Yeah, Mak'gora. Yeah.
It was a leveling tournament with a Mak'gora at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it was
for a lot of money.
A 25,000 like prize pool, which is insane because the community ran ones was like 500, 1,000, which is still great. And I know that the community ones weren't even, they were more for prestige than the prize pool.
The first ever hardcore Mak'gora was in front of the Great Lift on Blood Sale. It was in front of the Great Lift. It was a warrior only Mak'gora, and the prize was $25.
Yeah, and there was so much hype.
Yeah, dude, I died the night before. I made a body type 2 Tauren warrior named Milk-Gora.
Yeah, I remember Milk-Gora.
And I was farming for dig rats at the Bale Done Dig site, trying to get a dig rat so I could drop just before the duel started, so I could kill it for extra rage to start the duel with extra rage. And I died trying to farm a dig rat at level. It was a level 9. I think it was level 19, or maybe it was level 20 cap for that first one. And I was all kitted out. I had engineering leveled. I had all of my I was geared. I was set to go. And I died trying to get a dig rat.
But yeah, like this was an NA only race, I think. And then I saw some comments that, EU players were like, where's the EU tournaments at? NA gets all the love and all this stuff. And I mean, I don't even know how many, like the good thing about the community ran ones was, everybody was able to participate. This one was more of it was like what did they do? They like voted people in for the tournament. Like it was more like an internal thing, but they just broadcast it. They streamed it live for everybody to watch.
Who won?
I think it was Gray's, and I don't know if it was like a 2v2 thing, so I don't know who Gray's for Day's partner was, but there's hardly any information posted anywhere. So without going back and watching like 6-hour VODs to see like what happened and who won what, who did what, who got to what level and all that stuff, like whose class was what, like there just wasn't that much actual information.
The only way that I knew Gray's won is because he was streaming like afterwards, and his stream title was that his team won, and that's the only way that I knew. I didn't see the results or anything posted anywhere. Like that's how I had to find out, was going to Gray's, be like, I bet he probably like, I think you and I were talking about it. I was like, oh, Gray's participated, cool, and then that was how we found out that his team won.
Yeah. But what do you guys think about like classic WoW esports, since that's kind of what that was? Like Blizzard has hosted a couple tiny things. Like they had the Immortal Nax run, I think, or the Undying Nax thing that they had, like 10v10 for that. Should there be some more stuff for like ICC that Blizzard could host, do you think? Or just let it be all community driven, like smaller stuff?
I think if they were going to do anything now, I think ICC would be the time to do it, because it's ICC and Old War were the two raids that people were the most hyped for. Like, it's cool that they did it for an axe for the Immortal thing, but like, I mean, Nax is kind of a snooze fest. Like, let's be real. The coolest thing about it was that they had to start with like characters that were basically fresh tunes that didn't have gear, and they had to. The race was for them to get geared. Like, they had one world tour. They could do one heroic world tour to get gear for the immortal run, and then they had to do the immortal run. Like, that was what was interesting about it, is it was limited. Like, they couldn't just endlessly farm stuff, like, or farm gear anyway. They could farm mats for consumables and professions and whatever, but like, they only had one heroic world tour to be able to get geared up for the immortal run, and that's what made it interesting to me. Be interesting to see what they would do for an ICC one. Like, if they did like a 10-man ICC race or something like that, and like you had to start with like, you know, like old war hard mode gear or something like that, or like you could only get, if they did the same thing, like, you know, you start with a fresh tune and you go through like one world tour gammas or something like that, and then do an ICC 10, I think that would be interesting.
Oh yeah.
I think it's good. I think, again, could be a little bit more creative, as in Blizzard could. They've got the tools in place to be a little bit more creative. And I think it needs to be a bit more inclusive for everybody. Like, you know, when you like that, you know, Gray's one. We know Gray's, we all know, you know, but it's a streamer. You know, I'm guessing the majority of people that was in that community-driven tournament would have been streamers or YouTubers or, you know, names people knew. Whereas, you know, like Blizzard could do, they could do it in a lot longer term than it being like, oh, you know, this is going on for 2 days or this is going on today, whatever, you know, where, yeah, there's like an in-game leaderboard that goes on for 30 days. Maybe it's a monthly thing where the leaderboards reset and the top team at the end of that month wins whatever they win, you know, so it just then makes it a bit more available to everybody, or more accessible to everybody that don't stream, don't sit and play the game 24 hours a day. You know, so like, imagine gold challenge modes. You know, if they said, right, you know, it's this month is going to be Violet Hold and Halls of Stone, you know, whichever 5 people have got the best time, you know, that's tracked by them, you know, will win $500, like whatever. It don't even need to be a lot. But everybody can see that in game, you know, so everybody in the game can participate in it. You know, you'd have guilds of like fucking socials and dad guilds that could even participate, but then you'll have super hardcore people which would really be trying to bust them records and, you know, make sure that they win. I think it should just be a lot more broadcasted. Because you got to remember, there's not, you might think everybody goes on Twitch, everybody goes on YouTube, but they really don't. You know, there's a lot of people that, if it was in game where you could track these things or see these things going on, a lot more people are going to look at it, a lot more people are going to see it. And like in-game leaderboards, how we haven't had that in Classic yet is beyond me.
Could they do that in Kata, do you think? Like, would it be easier in Kata than it would be right now, since it's kind of towards the end of Wrath? Could they start Kata off with something like that?
Well, so the thing is, like, I wouldn't have even known that what I'm about to say is possible without playing on Whitemane. Whitemane have just launched their own, basically their own Warcraft logs. But it's all like that. You don't have to log. It's just all there. It shows every kill that your character's done, every kill your guild's done, what your DPS was, what your HPS was. Like, it is such an amazing tool. It is like, the fact that it's on a private server, you wouldn't even believe it. It's fucking phenomenal. You know, so if a private server has got all that data and they can get the data from every kill, from every boss and who killed it and how long it took and all of that without physically having to log to a website, how have Blizzard not done that? How have we not got like some in-game, more or less in-game World of Logs or Warcraft logs? Sorry, I'm going really old school with World of Logs. Yeah, how have we not got that in-game? You know, where you can literally, you've got something that you can bring up and go Nax, and then see the guilds that have cleared Nax the fastest, the guilds, you know, what their DPS was. Like, all that data is there. Like, you just see it in the combat log, but that combat log is going somewhere. You know, it's not just being saved to your computer. It is physically going, you know, onto Blizzard servers where they can take all that data and do something useful with it. I think they could just take things to the next level. And I know we were talking about community events and I've gone really, it sounds like I've gone really off topic, but I actually haven't. Yeah, it's like, they could harness all that and just make all these things more accessible. Because that's the only thing I don't like. I think it's bollocks that most of the events are all like streamers. It's mainly for streamers, content creators, and all of that. It would be much better if it was like your average Joe who plays the game and thinks he's good at the game gets a shot at that as well.
Mm-hmm. And then there's like transmog competitions that they have on Whitemane. They've got like rated battleground tournaments and stuff like that. And I know that there's been some like PvP tournaments and stuff hosted, community driven again for Wrath, TBC, and just Wrath and TBC because there was no arena in Classic. And those are cool. Like Blizzard has the retail PvP tournaments. So even some 2v2, 3v3 PvP tournaments, I'd watch them. I watch the retail ones. I don't even play retail.
It'd be cool if they because they have this, they have a spectator tool that you can use during, like that's what they use for when they do like battleground tournaments and stuff like that, like RPG tournaments and stuff like that. They have like an eye in the sky sort of thing. Why can't players spectate? Like if you know that there's a tournament going on, why can't you, while you're in game, why can't you spectate that? You know what I mean? Like why do you have to tune into, a video, whatever? Like, why not be able to access all of this stuff in game? Like that's been the story throughout WoW's history, is like anything super interesting that people have done with the game, whether it's logs or tournaments or whatever, has been externally through, and even add-ons. People that have made add-ons that improve the UI or the functionality of the game are always third party. Like, why can't it be part of the actual thing? Like, why do we have to go somewhere else? Why can't we get it from Blizzard?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other hardcore topic that I had was Frontier achieved the world first hardcore official server, Molten Core. And I watched some of it. I was tuning into fellow friend of the show, Crix's stream for that. And it seemed pretty cool. They had like a lot of extra people other than the 40 people that were inside the raid that were helping summon. They were on standby in case somebody did die, which I think there was one death. And, everybody had their consumes. People were farming consumes since the server launched, like as quick as they could, getting greater fire protection potion pots, getting faps, getting everything. It was crazy how much like prep that they had done to get into Molten Core. Did you see any of that, Table? I think you said you might have.
Yeah, I was watching some of it. I had Crix up. I think I had who else did I have up? I had a couple people up that I was watching it on. And yeah, it's like the interesting thing is like these are a lot of people who have been raiding together on Bloodsail and Hardcore for a long time. So a lot of these folks, instead of rolling with HC Elite, they made their own guild to push it. And yeah, it's just interesting. Like the fact that they have a lot of experience playing with each other definitely helped a lot. But some of the things that they were doing for like optimization for speed and things like that and safety were very interesting to see. Like some of the way that they were doing pulls, some of the positioning that they were using when tanking things and stuff like that is very reminiscent of the way that people were doing it under, non-hardcore conditions in 2019 Classic. But just to see like that extra, next level of gameplay was interesting. And there's a lot of people that aren't too impressed by it, specifically because these are players who've been playing together the whole time. But it hits a little different because it's an actual official permanent server. So like the biggest criticism that people had of HC Elite on Bloodsail was the fact that a lot of the players had appealed deaths. So there was, anywhere from a quarter to a third to, in some cases, a half of the raid team were players whose characters had died, but it was an appealable death. So they appealed it and they were still playing. This time around, it's permadeath. It's actual permadeath. So the team that went through and killed Ragnaros were all players characters who had never died, and like for sure. So that's the cool part about it. And I'm not really sure if they had any competition really. I think they were the ones that everybody knew that Frontier was making the giga push to be the first ones to clear an NA. So pretty much anybody who wanted the first kill was trying to get into Frontier. And I'm not sure how much competition they had, but it's still impressive that they got it as quickly as they did, because it's not like they were farming for Prebis endlessly. They had like a few days maybe of Prebis farming, and they were going in with like, a lot of them still had leveling gear that they were going in. They had some world boss loot. There was an interesting thing where they were layer hopping to get extra world boss kills. I think they killed Azure Ghost like 6 times or something like that, because they were layer hopping to a new layer to get another Azure Ghost kill, and people were upset about that. But again, I don't think they had any competition. I don't think they were stealing kills from anybody, because they were the only 60s that were ready to do anything. So like, people were kind of, you know, creative use of game mechanics maybe to do the layer hopping thing to get an extra world boss kill, but you know, it is what it is, and they got the rag kill. And as far as I know, they're going in to do BWL next week, I believe. So we'll see how long it takes them to get a Cthulhu kill, and how long it takes them to get a KT kill. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that I heard about the Azure Ghost kills too, and that's pretty wild. That they were like, oh yeah, we can just layer hop and kill this boss almost not infinite, but you know, like we can do this all day. Basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out for them because they're on Defi's Pillager, and that's the more populated of the 2 NA servers. I play on the other one. And I think the most amount of layers that I've seen on Skull Rock is like 7. So I think at one point I saw they had like 14 layers. So if they were able to layer hop that many times and get that many world boss kills, like that'd be crazy. Like the most I've done, like I layer hop to get like the Wicked Leather Gauntlets pattern from the vendor at the Bulwark. I layer hop to get that. I've layer hop to try and get rare mob tags and stuff like that. But like, I never would have thought to layer hop to do a world boss kill. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. And another piece of news: 145,000 more banned accounts. Blizzard is on fire with taking action against these exploitative accounts that people are making. Good job, Blizzard.
Surprised there's any accounts left with that amount that they're banning.
It'd be interesting. I don't understand why they can't go into more detail, but it'd be interesting to get like a little peek behind the curtain, like how they figure out which accounts are exploitative. But obviously they can't tell us that, because if they told us that, then the people who are trying to do the exploits would figure it out and they'd be able to work around it. But like, I just, out of curiosity, I'm interested to see how they figure out like how much of it is a human making a decision to ban an account, and how much of it is their automated systems. Like, is this robots versus robots, or like what's going on here?
And I don't think it's specified like whether these are modern Warcraft, as they call it, or classic, or it's probably a combination of both.
I mean, it's the same account. Like, if you get banned because of something you did in classic, you can't access retail anymore. Yeah, because it's the same Battle.net account.
But I mean, if it's like 100,000 accounts where people doing exploits on modern WoW, and then it was 45,000 on classic, then it's like, I mean, they banned some on classic, but not 150K. And yeah, not much to talk about there. They come out like every once a month or something, and it's roughly the same amount. It's like 150K. Hey, we just banned another 150K. It's like, okay, cool.
It's just the same accounts they're constantly banning.
Yeah,
like them 150,000 bots just create a new account and they banned them the next month.
Yeah.
They can't even IP ban people though, because everybody can use a VPN. Like, you just use a VPN to get a new IP, and then you get around an IP ban. So like, it's unfortunate that they just have to constantly be rebanning probably the same people. But I mean, you know, and I there's a few people, myself included, that have noticed the implication, like the results of bans happening. Like, things on the auction house change prices very slightly. The price of the WoW token has fluctuated in accordance with these ban waves and stuff like that. So like, it is making a somewhat noticeable difference that they're doing this. But I know there's also a lot of people that wish that more was being done.
But you've also got to appreciate the fact that even if they're banning the same 150,000 accounts pretty much every month that they're claiming to do, those 150,000 accounts that they banned made them $2.2 million, yeah? So that's fine. So basically, you can guarantee if they're claiming to ban 150,000 a month, those 150,000 are making Blizzard $2.2 million a month. But that's fine. I reckon Blizzard are probably all right with that.
There's always, they have to make a certain amount for it to still be profitable for them. So it's like Blizzard's playing this like kind of dangerous game of like, all right, we need to let them go for long enough so that they will actually buy a new account. Like who knows what, that's kind of tinfoil hat territory there, like figuring out like, how long do we let them go for before we ban them and make them buy another one? I'd be interested to see in a month's time if that number goes up, because there are for sure bots in hardcore. I've seen them going in.
Yeah, I've seen them, and I don't even play it.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see if that number of banned accounts increases because of people who are botting in hardcore, because like they're already selling hardcore gold. It's a hell of a lot more expensive than classic gold is, that's for sure. But there are already gold sellers in hardcore, so it'd be interesting to see.
How do you know that the gold's more expensive, Table? Tell me more.
What's your source, Table?
I imagine it's the same way that Go found out when he was comparing in his stream where he farmed enough gold for a WoW token.
Oh, of course. It was research purposes.
Yeah. What have you seen the bots doing? Are they just leveling? Are they fishing? Are they like getting mining nodes? Are they skinning?
It's mostly mining, fishing, and herb farm bots. I've seen a few skin bots around too. Like the easiest way to tell if it's a bot, and this is like something that works in Wrath as well, is when you see a character moving around the world that looks like they have kind of like, janky movement, like kind of scripted looking movement, like making very sharp turns, or like running in a straight line and then suddenly changing direction and running for a straight line again. You notice any sort of suspicious movement like that, you can kind of figure out what their scripted route is, and you can kind of head them off at the pass and find a node and then hit the node, but hold it open. Don't take what's in the node and just hold it open so it still shows up on their tracking, because their script sets to go to where the tracking is. So you hold the node open and then they come up and they try to also get it, but they can't because you're holding it open, and then you just hold it there and you can effectively hold a bot hostage. A normal player will notice that somebody's already there and they'll just skip over that one. But a bot will always go to the node if it still shows up on the tracking and will attempt to get it. So you can just hold it there and you have all the time in the world to report them.
I'm doing some research now. Through a VPN, and
it's up there, right? You can see that there is hardcore gold for sale.
It is for $20. Guess how much gold you can get on
by like
15 gold,
right in between, pretty much. You guys, at 41 gold for $20 as an alliance on Skull Rock.
It's so dumb. Just go fishing in Tenaris and vendor the greens.
And then there's a horde for Skull Rock too, which looks like it's cheaper.
Yeah, I know someone who he traded. I don't want to get the numbers wrong. I'm sure it was something like 3.5K. He traded on Wrath for like 2 gold on when he started on hardcore and gave someone 3.5K for 2 gold.
So dumb.
Jeez. Yeah.
I mean, I could liquidate all of the gold that I have right now in hardcore and make like $100.
So
not gonna do it. I need that. I don't have a mount yet.
The insane thing is this website shows how much gold is available, and there's 717,000 gold available on this hardcore server.
No chance. There won't even be that much in circulation.
Yeah, I imagine it's a gold website. They probably make numbers up, but if it's factual, that's insane that they have like that stockpile of gold already.
There's a lot of people, like the first, like a bunch of the first 60s were AoE mages. So it won't be long before the bots have like a safe, and like AoE farming on a mage is dangerous. Like a lot more people have died trying to AoE level on a mage than have made it. But eventually they'll get good enough scripting where there will be AoE mages farming random mobs out in the world, like out in the middle of nowhere that nobody cares about, like the earth elementals up near where you summon Thunder on for the Thunder Fury quest. Like they'll be just mass killing all of those elementals. They'll be killing the fire elementals at Fireplume Bridge and Angoro. They'll be killing all of the air elementals in Silithus. Like there's so many places where there's just random mobs out in the world that aren't for anything. They're just there to be in the way, like it's Pokemon or something, like just randomly getting you into combat for no reason, that those bots will just kill those mobs over and over and just vendor the trash, auction house anything good that drops off of them. And that's probably how the bots are going to operate in hardcore. They're going to find safe AoE grinds on mobs that don't do anything crazy to their characters, that they can easily just slow and keep control of. And they're just going to vendor the vendor trash, and that they're just going to raw farm gold. That's basically what's going to, they're raw farm gold and get like Black Lotus and whatever.
Yeah.
Well, we
lucrative business.
We knocked through the news pretty quick there, and I thought we were gonna take a lot longer. But now that I'm looking at the time, we're good on time. So, if there's anything else you guys wanted to discuss, or we could just end the show early and get on up out of here.
I mean, I'm good.
I'm sure there's probably. I mean, you could give me a topic and I could just talk about it. So.
No, we can leave it a short episode. I mean, Bob, Mel weren't here, so yeah, we did the best we could. We got the
I'm sure
information out
there will be interesting stuff happening throughout the game as we get closer to ICC dropping. Like, there's probably somebody that's going to come up with some crazy strat on the PTR for ICC bosses that's never been thought of before. There's probably more events that are going to be happening in hardcore, so definitely keep your eyes out, keep your ear to the ground for interesting goings on, because we use Wowhead for a lot of our news that we find for everything, no matter what we're looking at. But there's a lot of stuff that happens that doesn't get reported on by Wowhead. So, you know, watch your content creators, check other outlets as well. You know, listen to this podcast, listen to ScotteJaye's podcast, listen to Josh Corbin's podcast. Like, there's tons of ways that you can find out information about the game if you really like finding out the cool things that are going on in WoW.
Yep.
I got one thing just to add, just before we go.
All right. What is it?
With all the changes that they're doing for Phase 4, do you think they should remove the shared lockout between heroic and normal for TOGC? Not now, not right now, but when Phase 4 launches. So, you know, as a further way of being able to gear, you can do 10-man heroic and 10-man normal, and 25 heroic, 25-man normal.
Nah, one lockout of 10 and 25 is enough, I think. That's too much.
Yeah, but you're not going to do it during ICC. Like, you're not going to do it during ICC.
I'm making a new tune, so...
Yeah. But so when... Yeah, I'll tell you what. Once you've finished leveling your character, then I'll ask you this question again, and we'll see how you feel. Because I'd love nothing more than right now going and doing a 25-man normal tuck, just for another chance at getting some gear.
I mean, that would spoil the Gamma dungeons. I'd be like, well, I can do normal and heroic talk now, so I'm getting all my a lot of my normal gear from that.
But the beta dungeons that drop 10-man normal Alduar gear, you can just go and do 10-man Alduar and get 25. You know, it's like it's kind of just more sources of gear. I'm not trying to convince you. Like, I think it would be the perfect time to just to remove that. And again, it's a private server thing. It's what they do. You know, the lockout between 10-man and 25-man Firelands has just been lifted on Whitemane, because you know the progress race and all that shit. So that's done now. So it's like, yeah, you can do both now. You can do 25 and 10. So wait, just because it's just you get quicker gear.
Then you're locked. Like if you do heroic, then you're locked to heroic for all 5 bosses. You can't toggle it.
No, talking about doing separate lockouts for normal and heroic, like separating them once ICC is out.
Yeah, so you could do 10-man normal and 10-man heroic if you wanted to, and you could do 25 heroic and 25-man normal if you wanted to.
But you wouldn't be able to do like what you can now, though. Like you could,
right? You wouldn't be able to toggle it.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do the ICC lockout system. No, you would go as far as you can in heroic. Who toggles it? I've never been in a group that's done that.
And especially in the GDKP, we did, because we got a noob. We couldn't do a noob on heroic. We ran out of time, so we switched it to normal and then did normal and noob.
and got a normal rain.
That was week 1 for the GDKP. Yeah,
that was week 1 for the GDKP. Yeah. Well, that would just go back to normal. Yeah, you can't turn it on and off.
I feel like if they re-separated, that would be good for helping people catch up. And all of these systems that they've added, like the alpha, beta, gamma dungeons, all that stuff has been to help people either returning to the game, get caught up, or leveling fresh characters. So I think anything that they can do to make it a less painful experience to gear up to get into the current raid content, I think is a good decision. So I think that separating the normal and heroic lockouts, I think would be a good idea for helping get people into the current stuff. Because if there's too many pain points along the way, people who are excited to come back and play it in ICC, not being able to do that because they didn't get lucky with their 125-man talk lockout, aren't going to be happy about that. If you can at least go into normal, like normal talk here should be okay to progress normal ICC.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, the only thing that made me think about it is, you know, I'm now at a point already, and I only dinged 80 yesterday, where I'm pretty much now waiting for next week.
Yeah.
You know, already I dinged yesterday, and I'm now waiting for next week to really be able to get any meaningful upgrades. Whereas if I could now go and do even a TOC 10 normal, you know, get some extra emblems, go and do a 25 TOC normal, you know, have a chance at getting a weapon, a trinket. Yeah, it just more options for getting gear. Because, again, until one of you's level a character like now, you know, like as we stand today, where everything's so easy, you run out of shit to do really, really fast.
Yeah. I think that'd be interesting. I think it'd be a good idea if they did that. I feel like Mega Man asked a question in chat. I'm trying to see. He's asking about account-wide rep and achievements because they're doing account-wide pets and mounts coming up. So the question is, I don't know if they've said anything either way about whether they want to do account-wide everything or if they're just leaving it to pets and mounts. But he asked a question earlier too that I got to scroll up to find.
In regards to achievements, Agron said, not in the pipeline at the moment, but never say never. That was literally because I tweeted that. I tweeted exactly the same thing and tagged him in it and said, we've got pets and mounts, account-wide achievements, ? And yeah, he replied and said, not in the pipeline, but never say never, which basically means yes, but probably in MOP.
I mean, reps would be nice. I've always hated regrinding a rep on a new tune.
I mean, like, and they knew that too. Like, that's why, like, the Helm enchants and the Hodir enchants and stuff like that, the exalted ones are BOA instead of BOP.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, except for the resistance enchants, for some reason, you still have to grind the rep for those. But, like, you know, they knew that it was a pain for people to grind reps. So they made the things you grind the rep for that stay relevant, they made them BOA. So, like, why not just do that across the board?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's just an inconvenience, you know, like when you really think of it. If it was like maybe not the rep, like the rep don't need to necessarily be account wide, you know, as if like I'm on my druid right now, obviously, and looking at my reps, and yeah, it's all friendly, honored, like I'm not exalted with anyone. So that can stay the same. So it can be individual rep. But it should almost know when you go to a vendor that you're already exalted with those, even if it was just for like the head enchants and that. Yeah, it's just annoying when you have to then relog and go to a character and fly over and go and buy it and then mail it across. Yeah, you know, it would just be that'd be a nice, really nice little quality of life change where it's like, yeah, the items like the blues and the epics and that, yeah, you need to grind the rep out on your existing character, whatever you're on. But the actual bind on account items, if there's a character on your account that's already exalted or revered or whatever you need, you can buy those without having to relog. I think that'd actually be quite cool.
I think, yeah, that'd be a good idea. Because, like, especially, like, say you're leveling an alt and you're going through Ice Crown and you just unlock the Shadow Vault, you can go in there and talk to the vendor and grab your Helm enchant ahead of time so you don't have to go back there later. It's like stuff like that. Like, I think that'd be a good idea.
And again, it's not game breaking or game changing. It's just literally quality of life. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. Because it is quite annoying having to relog. You know, like when I've had an upgrade today and it's like, oh, got to go on the Paladin and fly over here and go and get that and then mail it and then go to the mailbox on the other character.
I end up just buying several. Anytime I go to one, I just buy a few and bank them.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad idea.
I feel like anytime because the three of us have talked about similar things before, just like, you know, amongst ourselves about like potential changes they could make to like make the game a little better or like less friction involved with whatever you're doing. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to, is like there's a bunch of things in the game right now that are just points of friction for no reason. Like why?
Yeah.
Like why is it like that? Like was it just because it was like that back in the day? Like no, we're different players now. We play the game differently. The game, you could make a case for saying that the game should shift and change a little bit based on the players that are playing it now, because we're not the same players we were 15 years ago. We have different priorities. We have different things that we care about in the game. So like the game itself, you know, if you really want the actual old school thing, go play Era. You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
But also like the more changes you make, the closer it gets to like the way the state that it is in retail or modern WoW. And there's so many people that just blindly hate retail, but then they come across systems that don't make any sense or are silly or too frictional in the current iteration of Classic, that are like, oh man, it'd be great if it was like this. Instead, it was like, oh, hey, guess what? Retail has it like that, because Blizzard listened back then to players saying the exact same thing that you're saying right now. And they made it better for the modern game. And that's in the modern game now, instead of it being the way that it was. So it's like, it's weird that people are like, oh no, I hate retail, but let me get all of these convenience and quality of life things that retail has in Wrath. Like it's silly. Like people don't really, they don't understand what they're saying. Like they're hating on it for no reason. They're like saying all these bad things about retail, blah, 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 this and that. But like what they're really unhappy with is the way the classes are in retail. All of the other stuff about retail that makes the game less difficult or less frictional to play are good things that have happened to the game over time. Like it's not a black and white thing. Like you can like some parts of it and dislike others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It kind of makes me want to go back and actually try retail, because I do say like, oh no, dude, like I hate retail, but I haven't even given it a shot in a couple of expansions.
Yeah, there's like a lot of stuff that makes sense, that the game has evolved over time in some ways, and some of the ways that it's evolved have been not as great for people who like the old school systems and old school mechanics and stuff. But some of the other things in the game, like the pet tab, the mountain tab, like all that stuff, like transmog, all these things that are in the modern game, wouldn't ruin the experience of Wrath or Classic. Like it wouldn't ruin the experience at all. Like, because the mechanics of the game are still the same as they are in Wrath. If you just add some of that stuff from retail in, just for like quality of life or to have something else to do or whatever, I don't think that would be a bad thing. If they leave the mechanics and the way that the game works the same, who cares about the rest of the stuff? Like I play Classic because I like the way that the mechanics of the game were back then. I don't like you could add transmog right now, and if I don't want to use transmog, then I won't use transmog. You know what I mean? It's not going to affect the way that I press my buttons.
Yeah, but it's true. Yeah, and I've said that all the way through Classic, that if it's not a mandatory system that you have to take part in because it's going to make your character stronger, then it should be put in, because someone will like it. You know, someone will like transmog. And other people won't. It's like, well, don't transmog your character then. Someone will like random dungeon finder, but if there's no actual reward for doing it, then put it in. And that was what I said about random dungeon finder right from the start. It's like, well, remove the bag, remove the XP reward. You know, like take away all the benefits of using random dungeon finder, and then those that are like so against it and don't want to play with it, don't use it. Go make your own group.
Have you guys seen anybody since they announced RDF say, "Oh man, like this is going to ruin Wrath Classic"? Because Blizzard.
I mean, I have on YouTube comments, but you can't go by YouTube audience. Yeah, you can't listen to that shit.
In my experience, it's been the opposite. Like, just people that are saying, "Oh, I already quit the game. I wish this was added earlier, or I wouldn't have quit."
Yeah, I've seen that as well. But then I've still seen like, oh, now it's retail 2.0. It's like, what? You didn't work that out by the end of phase 1. Like, we've already seen so many changes and everything that's like completely different. We're not playing Wrath Classic. We're playing like Wrath Reforged.
Yeah,
which is fine. I'm cool with that.
It's like Wrath 2.0.
Yeah.
I mean, like as soon as they added the Titan Rune dungeons, like that, any misgivings that anybody had, or any like, that's not the right word to use. Misgivings is not the correct word in that for what I'm trying to say. But like, if you had any doubts about the fact that this was a different Wrath from original Wrath, then the addition of Titan Rune Dungeons, like if you didn't quit because of that, you're not going to quit because of RDF. Like, be real with yourself. Like,
yeah.
All right. Well, next week it should be back to the normally scheduled program with Bob and Mel. They were out of town this weekend and asked us to host the show. So thanks everyone for sticking around with us for the last hour and a half. A little bit short of a show, which is totally fine by me because Scotty and I had a 6-hour podcast the other night on Wednesday. So, but yeah, let's close out the show. Like, I don't really remember how Bob does the closing. I know he usually asks Scotty, where can people find you?
Yeah, ScotteJaye pretty much everywhere.
Kick.com.
Just type in ScotteJaye, YouTube, or YouTube, Kick, Twitter, Instagram, OnlyFans. Yeah, OnlyFans. Chat8 sometimes, but normally only on Saturday evenings. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Here sometimes. Our podcast, might as well plug that. Obviously, go and myself. We do a podcast every Wednesday at 11 p.m. my time. What time is it your time, Go, when we do it?
6 Eastern, so 3 Pacific.
Yeah, so then it's very different to this podcast. This podcast is very serious, very on point. We talk about very serious topics, and everybody is very very grown up adults, I would say. This is a very adult show. This is for the more mature WoW player, whereas Go and I's podcast is more for the degenerate fucktard. That's the only way I can really describe it. Yeah. If you enjoy basically knob jokes, and someone, if you laugh when someone farts near you, you'll really enjoy our podcast as well.
And if you want to see 4 grown men drink straight from the liquor bottle, then that's another fun thing that happens. Good. Yeah.
But that's the thing. We normally do start pretty sensible for about 20 minutes. And then 6 hours into the podcast of our 1-hour podcast, we're normally too pissed to even know what's going on anymore.
And Table, where can everybody find you?
I'm on YouTube at TableSlam, on Twitch at twitch.tv/table_slam, and kick.com/tableslam. Little underscore on Twitch is the bane of my existence. But I play hardcore stuff on Twitch, and then my Wrath stuff I play on YouTube and Kick. And every once in a while, I'm a guest on this podcast and on Scott and Go's podcast. So check that out as well.
And you guys can find me at YouTube. Really, I stream to Kick like once a month now. Like I started it, and then like I haven't been streaming myself too much other than like the normal NA Wrath Classic like raids. So like talk split runs into Ulduar. I've been streaming that. I've been streaming the level 60 stuff too when we're raiding on that. So I should be streaming tomorrow or Saturday, should I say, since some people listen to this later on than tonight. So yeah, usually the weekends I'll try to stream the level 60 stuff if you're interested in watching any of that. And yeah, ClassicGho on YouTube. GHO. I'm weird. I don't spell it go because that's boring. But thanks everybody for hanging out, and yeah, Bob and Mel back next week. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Logan R says hi.
Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.